Welcome to A Year in the Nature Journal. In this series, I'll be guiding your nature study for an entire year by following the natural rhythms of my own nature journal practice. Each week will be dedicated to a specific subject. This week is Mammals of the Woodland. Woodlands are rich with life, making them one of my favorite environments to find myself in. Though sometimes you don't even have to go into the woodland to reap the benefits of the wildlife there. If you have woodland nearby, sometimes it's just as well to spend some time looking out of your windows. I've made many observations this way, especially if it's too cold or the weather otherwise doesn't permit me to go outdoors. The footage I captured of a red fox eating from my compost was filmed from inside my kitchen window with my binoculars. Red foxes are quite common, but I've never seen one this close and didn't even know any lived in my woodland, so it was a special moment for me. Seeing the red fox inspired me to go looking for a den or other possible signs of the fox in the woodland. I never found a den, but I ended up coming across a patch of creek bed which had a few different animal tracks in the silty soil. Reading animal tracks isn't something I have a lot of experience with, but I want to spend some time learning more about tracks. Despite my limited knowledge, I found what appeared to be raccoon, coyote, fox, and deer tracks. I also found one very large track I couldn't identify. If you're able to go outside but can't find any signs of wildlife, it may be beneficial to set up a camera if you have access to one. I put up a trail cam to watch this area since so many different mammals have seemingly wandered through the creek here. The only footage I got after 4 days of surveillance was a group of white-tailed deer. I later moved the camera to the compost area and caught a gray squirrel as well as the local barn-dwelling skunk. When you write your observations, they don't have to be creative or detailed writings. You're not always going to observe things that are exciting. Sometimes your entries will be incredibly boring. The point is just to make quick notes on whatever you see. What does the woodland floor look like? Is it covered in leaves? Are there animal tracks? Maybe there's a bit of fur left behind in a barbed wire fence or a bit of moss. I keep my phone with me with a running nature journal notepad open, so I can add to it when something I consider significant happens. Then I take time at the end of the week to transcribe all of my observations from that week into my journal. As you practice going out into nature, you'll realize that more and more things catch your eye. Observing will become easier with time and practice. As you open yourself up to make observations, you'll see that you're able to make more. While I'm painting this fox, I'm going to quickly mention some tools that are helpful in making observations. I've already talked about trail cameras, but you can use DSLR cameras with a long lens. The further away you can observe wildlife, the better your chance of getting good footage. Though even your phone camera will be better than nothing at all when trying to capture wildlife from a distance. You can also use binoculars as I did at the beginning of this video. My binoculars have an attachment so I can hook my phone to them and film through the lens. I even have an old Polaroid camera which doesn't take the best quality images, but I still enjoy the aesthetic of them. When working from your own photos, just having a general idea of the shape and proportions of the thing you're studying is a great help. I use my own photos more as a memory of a moment, as well as a guide for my nature journal illustrations, but I almost always supplement with additional images when making studies. Just make sure if you're using images that are copyrighted, that you read up on copyright laws so you're not stealing anyone's intellectual property. Even if you choose not to photograph your findings, other tools will help your observation, such as guidebooks. Guidebooks are a great tool to take along if you see something you're unsure of. They can help you correctly identify the wildlife you're observing in the field so you can be sure to correctly chronicle it. When seeing something in life for the first time, it can sometimes catch you by surprise how different it looks from 2D photographs or illustrations. Seeing wildlife with your own eyes is always a different experience. You don't even always have to see something or capture it in a photo or video to make an observation. Simply hearing wildlife is enough to write about. Did you hear a squirrel chewing on a nut in a treetop? Did you hear rustling in the grasses? Did you hear a fox bark or a coyote call in the twilight? Writing down sights and sounds is the basis for nature journal observation. If you'd like to download or print my guide to the Mammals of the Woodland tracks, you can go to my Etsy shop. The link will be in my description along with my Patreon link, so you can access all of the early access content and any additional information regarding a year in your nature journal. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to have you here, and I will see you next week for our third week of nature study.